What's up guys, we've got the new Digitakt Mark II on deck today. So I thought we'd better do a run through of everything that's new and improved on the Mark II. There's new machines, new effects, new sequencing options, new buttons. There's heaps to talk about, so let's get straight in. So the headlines are stereo sampling rather than mono. We now have a 20 gigabyte hard drive on board rather than the 1 gigabyte. We've got 400 meg of RAM rather than 64. We've got 128 steps of sequencing on every single track rather than 64. We've now got 16 tracks rather than 8, and each of these is freely assignable to be an audio track or a MIDI track. Projects can now have 1,024 samples in them as long as they come in under that 400 megabyte limit. Aesthetically, you can see we've now got a white screen, so it matches the rest of the recent Elektron units. And we've got a few new buttons here. We have a dedicated button for the song mode, which was added in a firmware update to the OG Digitakt. So cool to see that that has a button. We now have a keyboard button, so you can play chromatically or set up scales to play with the keys for each one of your tracks. And we also have a new button crammed in up here, dedicated button for effects. So we'll get more into that in a moment, but overall the workflow and sort of layout and feel of this thing has remained fairly unchanged. Now let's pop the hood and go into a bit more detail and check out some of these new features. So in the mod section, we now have 3 LFOs or envelopes. So that's been renamed to mod rather than LFOs, which makes more sense. Underneath that, we have our mixer and compressor, sidechaining, all of that, and master overdrive. Jumping across to the new effects page, you can see we have bitrate reduction, overdrive, sample rate reduction, some track routing options, delay send, reverb send, and chorus send. And you can dive into the delay, reverb, and chorus settings if you go into the secondary menus. Moving across to amp, it's relatively unchanged. However, check out what's under here, sequencer. We have a Euclidean sequencer in here now. So widely requested feature. It's going to make a lot of people really happy. Jumping across to the filter page, big news here, we now have different filter types. So this is the new multi-mode filter that you can see smoothly warps between a low-pass filter, bandpass filter, and a high-pass filter. But if we go into the machine select page, you can see we've got a few different options. So we've got low-pass 4, which would be a 4-pole analog style low-pass filter. An equalizer if you want to get a bit surgical with your track processing. We've got a comb filter, which I'm really excited about. Comb filters can do all sorts of harmonically weird things, like really kind of alien textures. So I'm really psyched on that addition. And then we've got the old low pass, high pass filter as well. Moving on, there is some new functions under the filter menu as well. And we've got a setup page, and you can assign tracks to be affected or not affected by the control all performance sort of mode where you hold track and tweak filters and that sort of thing. So that's really cool. If you've got like a kick drum that you want to remain static while you're going nuts and tweaking parameters, then you can just turn that track on or off and it won't be affected by the control all kind of mode. You've also got compressor routing. So same kind of deal. If you've got some tracks that you don't want to be affected by the master compressor, just deselect them. Moving along to the source page, you can see it's a fairly familiar looking interface, but it won't be totally familiar because this machine is new. It's the new stretch machine, and this is kind of a granular time stretch algorithm. A lot of fun. You can kind of freely parameter lock the start and length, so you can really stretch things out from a really short sample and get all sorts of weird and wonderful textures. Great to see that included. Also a highly requested feature, so they are definitely listening. I've sort of covered the machine select page. You can select your filter and your audio sources in there, so not much to talk about. But moving across to the trig function, again, this will be very familiar. However, probability and conditional trigs are now on separate knobs, which makes a lot of sense. But a new feature that I'm really psyched about that directly relates to triggers is the new trigger modes. So if you hold function, go up or down, brings up the trig mode page, and you can change it to velocity, retrigs, or preset pool. So for example, let's go to velocity, and now on this kick drum that I had selected, I now have 16 different velocities. Super handy. You can live record these in. And yeah, and then you can quantize it, copy and paste things around and go from there. The retrig mode is really awesome as well, so check it out. Jump across to retrigs, and it's basically like an arpeggiator. I can hit any of these triggers and they'll have a different time division of repeats. So craziness, quarter notes, half. Yeah, you get the gist, and then you can just kind of live record that in. So So big fan of the retrig mode. That's an awesome addition. But let's check out the preset pool trig mode. So this basically assigns all the presets that you have in your pool to triggers. So you can have all of your presets within one track, like basically a full kit or a full song's worth. And if you've got heaps, you just scroll through the different samples, but I've only got 11 loaded up right now. But again, you just hit record and you can sequence that in. It's a musical masterpiece. So I think that about wraps up the new features. It's everything that I could find entirely possible. That I've missed things, you know. If I've missed anything, please let me know in the comments and I'll check it out. But this is a big update, you know, new machines, new trig modes, new sequencing modes, new effects. There's a lot to explore in here. I'm pretty psyched on it. I'm probably going to pick one of these up. I do have a problem though. So I think this would be well suited to anyone who wants to explore IDM, glitch, ambient, techno, electro, house music. But really, it'll do any genre that you task it with. It's a sampler after all, so you can load up neo-soul samples or lo-fi hip-hop samples and have a great time. So that is a wrap for today. The Digitakt Mark II is a wonderful machine. We should have stock of these landing very, very soon, if not ready. So hit the link in the description to check them out, or come visit us in one of our stores to have a play on it first. My name is Mike. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one.